everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders Podcast, aka The Whip Show. Daryl Pace, my co-host. It's been a long time, dog. We've been down for a minute, man. We've been in layoff, baby.
Yeah, well, we've been in layoff, but we haven't been taking it easy, man. We've been going through the guest list, been trying to get the best and better each and every week. So I know we're ready for another round, man.
And before we bring our guest in tonight, I want to tell the fans thank you. Because even though we haven't had shows in a couple of weeks, I've been still checking the numbers. Y'all been still checking in with us. The show's doing amazing right now. But if we come back, we had to have a super show. We couldn't have a regular show. We had to have a super show. Now, what better super show to have than the one, the only Impact Wrestling superstar? The man's been a tag team champion. Daryl, can we give it up for Mr. SuperMex himself, a.k.a. Shawn Hernandez? What's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? How you doing out there?
We are doing good, man. First of all, thank you for being on the show with us today. I know you're a busy man. Like, you just got done training some guys, and you ran on the show, so we appreciate that, man.
Yeah, one of my students is like a man child. He's about 6'9" and about 440 pounds. He turned 19 in July.
Woo.
Whoa.
And it takes myself and two other guys just to wear this kid out. So, I mean, he's been training since April. And like I said, you've never seen a 6'9", 400 plus pound man and full-blooded Mexican man. That big, I mean, he's a mountain, brother. He's hard. He's tough.
Now, is he light on his feet or is he just a monster?
No, dude, this guy has, whoever was his high school coach did him a huge disservice because this kid should be playing left tackle somewhere because he has some amazing feet for 400 pounds. I mean, just messed around like last week or the week before. We had him doing cartwheels, just do a cartwheel and knock it out. He's got it, man.
You want to shout his name out yet, or you want to wait until y'all?
No. Right now, we have a couple of times the last two shows. We have him just do a couple of run-ins and stuff like that, and he's not ready for the full reveal yet. But I mean, he's gonna be there. I promise, man.
Y'all heard it. That's an exclusive right here on the Whip Show. Y'all heard it. Now, Hernandez, before I go too far, I want to let you know, don't be offended. I like to drink a little bit, and this is my drink of the night. So I got my glass of wine. So if you see me drink on the show, don't be mad at me, dog.
Okay. Well, my dad, he owns his own winery there in Palestine, Texas. Texas, what's it called, Mom? Texas Vineyard and Smokehouse. You know, my dad's owned it for 12 years, so he makes his own wine and sangria. So you need to check it out as well.
Y'all heard that? That's enough. Whoa, wait! You said in Texas?
Yes, sir.
You see how you did me, man? Me and my boy, we were in Texas last weekend, but we were in Dallas. If I known that, I'd have came up there and kicked it with you, man.
Yeah, Dallas is, it's about 4 hours from me, but it's about 90 minutes from my dad's place.
I got to remember that. Y'all heard that here.
Can I cut in here for a second?
I already spoke on one thing that I really do appreciate, Shawn. You talked about the young man's Mexican heritage. And one thing about you, you've always represented that in your whole career. Was that by design? Was that by the promoters? How did that start off, man?
Well, when I first started wrestling in the 90s, when wrestling was red hot with, Nitro versus Raw, those big numbers, NWO versus the Attitude Era. Back then, you had to have a name. They didn't care. As long as it was flashy, I didn't know what to come up with. So the guy who trained me was Tugboat Taylor, him and his son Chaz Taylor from the old Global Wrestling days. They told me on a Wednesday to have a name and gear by Saturday. And it was either a Hot Stuff Hernandez or Hurricane Hernandez. And I flipped a coin and went with Hot Stuff Hernandez, and that's what I was until about 2005. And then I gradually got rid of the hot stuff part, just went by my last name because, you got to rep, there's not that many Hispanics on TV at the time. And I was one of the biggest, Hispanics on TV. So just like how Goldberg represents his Jewish community, I want to represent all the Latinos.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And I'm glad you touched on that because normally on the show it's just myself and my co-host Daryl Pace. Yeah. But for this special edition, I brought in, well, if you're SuperMex, I brought in Super Mark. He's gonna kill me because he didn't want me to say that before we started, man.
Come on, bro.
But I brought my guy. He's actually a promoter out here in the Michigan area. His name is Rigo Flores, and he just wanted to come on to say some words to you himself, if you don't mind, man.
Go, man.
Hey, so can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, bro.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so before I move into what I was going to say, SuperMex, did you say that your family's from Palestine, Texas?
Yeah, my dad lives there. Yes, sir.
That's where I'm from.
Really?
Yeah, I went to Westwood.
My father opened up his winery in 2008.
Okay, so he's currently in East Texas, Palestine.
Oh yeah, he's been there the last 12 years. Yes, sir.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
Because Adrian Peterson,
all day AP. I know that.
I was just I'm in Lansing, Michigan right now. I was actually just in Palestine last week. Deshaun's saying that we went down to Dallas. I have friends that are back in Palestine. It's my old hometown. Cool. It is a small world. I never even thought you would even know what Palestine was.
Many moons ago, I played football in North Houston in high school, and I played 2 years in Kilgore Junior College in East Texas.
Kilgore. Okay.
Then I played my last 2 years at Texas A&I, now Texas A&M at Kingsville, down in the valley. So, I've traveled all up and down 59, bro.
It was such a small world. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Palestine area, but I was actually a Westwood Panther. That's where I went to high school and middle school. And so it's such a small world, and it's great to see that we have that in common. As Deshaun said, he called me Mark, whatever. I think I've been in the business long enough to get past that, but I think I've also I still have an appreciation for the business. Sometimes that's something that goes away once you get behind that curtain. But I can honestly say that I still have an appreciation, and you are one of the people that I looked up to as a kid. I was actually telling Deshaun that, I really look up to the people, the Mexicans, of course, like Eddie Guerrero, the Guerrero family, and then of course SuperMex is in there. Yeah. And the reason why you Hernandez are such a big deal is because of the fact that you're like the Goldberg for us Mexicans. You're jacked.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying, and don't let no one start that crap with Super Mark, because everyone at one point in their life that's involved in wrestling was a Super Mark. Otherwise, you wouldn't be involved in wrestling. So don't let people get on you about that, because, how did I get in wrestling? How did you get in wrestling? How did anyone get in wrestling? Because you were marked for a certain wrestler or a certain style, and that's how you started.
Yes, sir. You make us proud. You make us proud to wear this, man.
Awesome, man.
So if you don't mind me asking, who was your inspiration growing up?
Well, my dad was a Green Beret for 30 years in the military, in the Army. And I wanted to be a wrestler since I'm like 16 years old. And instead, you got to go to college, or you get beat, So, and I didn't go to wrestling, come back to wrestling until watching ECW November to Remember, watching Mike Osmond and Masato Tanaka. And that just opened my eyes. I go, wow, this is not the same boring wrestling I watched when I was a kid. There's chairs, there's tables, there's people flying out of the ring. So I started training, and then maybe 2 or 3 years later, I was introduced to Lucha Libre, and I fell in love. 5,000-10,000 people at the building, the peasantry, the heel fans, the Rudos, oh my gosh. They make the show. So, if you've never been to a lucha match in Mexico, you're missing out, because just the lights, the whole thing, pageantry, the skill sets, the mass. I mean, it's just like the biggest variety show you ever seen in your life, live right in front of your face. And I mean, I was captivated from that from like 2002, 2006 before I joined TNA, and I still want to go back.
That's amazing. Now, I don't want to take over your interview, Shawn, but I got 2 more questions I got to ask SuperMex before you cut me off. You mentioned Mike Awesome. Was he your inspiration to use the power bomb?
You already know. If you know anything about Mike Awesome, you know anything about how I wrestle, it's very, very similar. I just tweaked a few things to make sure he didn't get too mad.
I hear you. Yeah. Now, your border toss power bomb is one of a kind. Yeah. And so now, last question, and I promise I'm done, Shawn. One match that you would say is your favorite match that you would recommend somebody else watch and study. What is it?
I would say, myself with Homicide, with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, those feuds were so awesome and so intense. I remember going to those feuds and thinking, man, God, please don't let me be the weak link in this match. I'm begging you, please don't make me be the weak link. And, just to be with guys who've been ring generals. I mean, look, Homicide, is an East Coast indie legend. AJ Styles is one of the top moneymakers for WWE right now. Christopher Daniels is involved in the game, and he's one of the best underrated ring generals ever. And this picture of myself, this big guy who's a little bit green on television, is literally praying that he's not the weak link every time I wrestle those guys, because dude, those guys are money. So those guys are magic. So, I mean, if you can't hang with those guys, maybe you should do something else.
It's true. Man, and you stick out. You stick out for sure.
Oh, much appreciated.
Awesome. Now I got a question for you as we kind of build into TNA. So you like you said, you started working. You kind of borrow from this, borrow from that. You're getting your image together. You got the name. At what point, what was that road to TNA like? Like where did people kind of see you? How did you get into TNA? What's that discovery process like for you?
I started training like in 96, late 96, early 97. And with the guys I was training with, Tug and Chaz, I had like 6 matches in that time frame until 99. I said, no, I got to get out of here because I want to make some more money. And 6 matches a year is not doing nothing. So I went to another company and I did about 75 matches after that first year there. That was in 1999. And all of a sudden I started going to Japan, get WWF at the time, WWF tryouts, dark matches, going to Mexico, seeing the world a little bit. And I wasn't really sticking anywhere. I was even doing Ring of Honor, the pre-shows where Homicide was the main event. I was the pre-show guy. And finally I was going to Japan, but probably my 6th or 7th tour there. Bill Behrens, he's a real good guy from Georgia. He pulled me to the side and said, hey, let me help you out here. Unless you work on this, this, and this, you're just going to be swimming upstream for the rest of your career. So I would go to his place in Cornelia, Georgia, maybe about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. Maybe 60 people would be in the crowd. And every other week, I would go and I'd wrestle for this man. And I think the biggest payday I ever made was like $30. And I was like, wow, man. But I'm learning, I understand how the moves and the execution, everything works. And then in 2003, when TNA was doing those midweek pay-per-views on Wednesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm sorry, I got signed. And it worked out from that. Took some time off for 2005, going back to Mexico, and then LAX. Let me jump. I was the original LAX guys.
Yeah, before you get to LAX,
the third guy.
Before you get to LAX, I want a couple questions there. So you talked about, you had some looks at the WWE. What was the feedback that they gave you after you had those looks? What did they tell you that what was the feedback?
Well, back then, I realized it's the early 2000s. WCW's done. So there's only one company. There's no AEW, MLW. Man, there's only WWE, or Japan or Mexico. I mean, for American television, there's only WWE. So they're just, they can say and do whatever they want, And I mean, there was this dang on the carrot waiting for you to either improve or someone to get fired, So it was a very difficult, probably like 2002, 2004, and 5. It was pretty rough if you were trying to make big money in the States.
And so in those years, those lean years, were you making $30 a match, $50 a match? What was your side gig? Like, what were you doing? Because I'm pretty sure $30 wasn't getting it done.
Well, I was very, very fortunate. When I was in Houston, I was, Tug and Jazz. They made sure my minimum rate was $50. So I was a $50 performer. But I mean, you did what you had to do. I was, I did personal training. I was king of unloading trucks. So you rest of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you make $150, and I'm begging for more hours to unload them trucks. And they got to juggle that stuff and hope everything falls how you want it. But luckily, it worked out in 2006.
Nice. Well, I want to jump in right quick. One thing about you, you were a TNA original. Like, you were there you've seen all of it. How do you feel about the progression of TNA as it went into Impact? I mean, you guys had new owners, and I'm going to be honest, be real. Some people didn't know if TNA would make it, but you guys are still here. You're still rocking. And I'm going to tell you, you got one of the best programs on television right now. So if you guys are out there, make sure you check out Impact Wrestling. They're doing some great stuff over there. But I got to ask you, you've seen the progression. What do you think about it, man?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head right there. Right now, and Impact is the best wrestling show on television that nobody watches, that nobody gets to channel, because you don't know what channel it is. I mean, let's be real. I've been there for off and on since 2003. We, for the last, say, 5 years, maybe 5 or 6 years, we've changed so many networks, you don't know where to find us. Unless you have social media, you will never find us. But on Access TV, we're not going nowhere because Anthem was, they bought the whole network. So there's no way we're going anywhere. And that's the spot. I mean, we have the best roster, and I can tell everyone we're the best show. We just need more eyes on the product, more ways for people to know what channel we're on now. Yes, we had a lot of bumps because ever since we lost Spike back in, I would say like 13 or 14, it's been rough. For if you're a diehard TNA Impact fan, I mean, from the whole time, from 14 on, you're a true warrior because we probably changed networks, at least 3 or 4 times.
We all heard that, though. The best show it is. And I'm telling you, I agree with that. I get Access TV, so I watch it. Plus, my boy Johnny Bravo's on there, so I got to support him anyway. But I love it. You guys
rest in peace, Johnny. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
I don't know nothing about Johnny Bravo.
Now, with that being said, though, you talked earlier about wrestling, some of the guys like AJ Styles, you've been in the ring with Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, all the greats. How do you feel about that, man? Because, again, you guys didn't know, well, maybe you did. Back in 2003, these would be some of the best performers in 2020. How did it feel to just be in a ring with these guys, seeing them grow as well as yourself, man?
Brother, it all came to a head in 2018. We did new LAX versus the old LAX. And I was wrestling in AAA at the time, trying to figure out my options, I thought, I'm trying to do some action stuff, and Homicide hit me up and said, hey, man, they want to do this anyway. New LAX versus the old LAX. I go, I'm good. Well, I'm doing some TV gigs. I'm wrestling in Mexico. I've got an easy schedule. I'm good. And then he's my brother, so I said, okay, let's do this. And I'll never forget, we were sitting in the stands, like bleachers, and looking down the guys going over matches and stuff like this. And I'm like, what the hell? I go, it's like, I'll be 1,000% honest. I looked at him, I go, bro, you know how AJ and Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode and all those guys went to wrestling heaven, making all their good money in WWE? We're stuck in wrestling hell here in Impact with these guys. I didn't know no one in the ring, no one. You know what I'm saying? These are some great performers. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of these guys now, but so I don't see them. You got to realize I was wrestling in Mexico, so I don't know who these guys are. I didn't recognize one dude that was in there. There was about 20 guys in there. I go, so this is what wrestling hell feels like, I guess. You know, we got punished for somebody in our past life where AJ, Eric Young, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, I all get to ascend to wrestling heaven, and here we're stuck here. And that was rough. I mean, you know, Impact's had some ups and downs, but I mean, everything is top notch now. I mean, everything from management to town relations. You know, it's so easy to talk to the office if you have issues, or if you don't have issues, if you just want to talk and just hang out. All the wrestlers get along well. I would never in a million years thought that all the components would be right there where you have management, town relations, agents, producers, and wrestlers all getting along at the same time, trying to make the product great. And that's why you said before, and I said myself, you know, Impact is the best show if y'all can get Access TV.
Yeah. Now, you touched on it earlier. We can't leave this show without talking about your brother, man. Tell me about the relationship with your boy Homicide, man.
We're like the perfect odd couple, you know. He's what you see is what you get. So what you what you're imagining in your mind, you see when you see my brother, you know that's exactly what you get. You know, he's so maniacal. I mean, he said he can be a great, awesome, gentle guy, but take him off and you found the Puerto Rican Joe Pesci. You know, and that's a straight shoot. He calls himself the Joe Pesci.
Nice.
He's an old school cat. He was, you know, he's been wrestling since he's 16 years old. If there's some issues in the ring, he don't like how it's going. We'll call different signals and maybe change the match up to where you're getting, you know, a 208-pound clothesline 10 times in a row instead of the basic moves, or maybe he takes care of himself and he has a small little shank that he keeps in his boot. So, I mean, it's different. You know, I was raised, you know, by military man for 30 years, you know, and he was raised in the streets, and somehow, some way, it just works out perfect,
man. Nice. Well, I want to touch on this too, because you actually talked about earlier about wrestling over in Mexico, and I was doing a little research on you. You did extensive wrestling beyond just TNA and Impact, Mexico as well. And you talked about it, but let's really bring the listeners in, the viewers in to wrestling over there. You know, you hear Lucha Libre, a lot of times you see the fast pace, cruiserweight style, but you're a brawler. Like, you jump. Like, the over the top thing, you do your thing, but you still ground and pound as well. How was that contrast over there in Lucha Libre? Did they receive that in Mexico as well as they did over here?
Well, it's more like I was TNA loaned me to AAA for the whole 2010, and I'll never forget. I wrestled there, and they seen, you know, big guys throw people around before, no problem, and so like, you know, they kind of like study you, like, yeah, you can throw people around, but can you wrestle? And then when you start wrestling, they go, okay. And then it hit them. My first pay-per-view there, I'll never forget, I did my big dive over the top. And the guy based me, I landed on my feet. I tore I was so hyped, it was like 20,000 people. I tore my wife beat off like, rah! I've never done, like, I'm expecting a big reaction because, I mean, you ever see a 208-pound man hit that big dive over the top, land on his feet, and just rip his shirt off like, you know, he's a monster. And 20,000 people like this. So I went to Zorro, who's a really good friend of mine. I go, Zorro, what the hell has happened? What's going on here? He goes, brother, they've never seen that before. They used to see like a 160-pound dude, 180-pound dude doing those big dives. But I mean, you see a guy chunking everybody around the ring and then gonna go jump on him and land on his feet, tear off his shirt and look at the crowd and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't boo that. So they just shut up.
No, I got a question because you had a unique opportunity because working in TNA when you were, you got to work with Sting, we talk Conan, all of these great minds throughout your career. If you, who would be probably some of the best minds that you got to work with that really had some knowledge and really could help improve the game?
Well, if you want to improve your mic game, there's no better person than Conan to go for the mic. He's been on the mic the last 20 years, but mic only gets you so far. So, the man for me, myself, was Kurt Angle. If you have a bad match with Kurt Angle, as soon as the match is over, go outside, find a lighter and some gas and burn your boots and never come back. There's no reason to ever have a bad match with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's a machine. I'm sure you heard it before, but that guy's like a cyborg. He might be bumped and bruised and battered, but once that music comes on, you better have the boots on at least tight because he's coming. It's like an amazing transformation. He's such a nice, gentle, kind talking guy, but once that music hits, dude, he's on.
I love it. Well, you know what, dog? I'm gonna touch base on this too because you just said his name, so I'm gonna throw two names out there to you, and I want you to tell me what do they mean to the Latino culture in wrestling. Conan and the Guerreros. What do they mean to you personally, and what do they mean to the culture?
Well, Conan is synonymous with Latino wrestling. This guy made it in AAA. He started in CMLL, but he pretty much helped make AAA what it is today. Went to WCW, went to TNA, went back to AAA, and now he's still behind the scenes in a lot of companies, like MLW and Impact. He still has his feet in different places around. So he's got the perfect mind to bring the Latino and the lucha style base wrestling people love to see and implement it with American style. Now the Guerreros I'm a little bit speechless because Hector Guerrero is a real good friend of mine. When he was the manager of LAX for a bit, he's a real good friend of mine, and so I got to meet the mom and the whole lineage and stuff like that, the pageantry. You got to realize the basic move, the camel clutch. You've heard of the camel clutch, right? Mm-hmm. Gory Guerrero invented that. So, Eddie's granddad invented that.
Word,
yes.
I never knew that.
So I remember Hector telling me the story that Eddie was wrestling someone and Eddie put someone in the camel clutch. And said, you can't do that move. You know what I'm saying? That's for such and such. He goes, you can't tell him that because why is that? He goes, his granddad invented the move. It's like, oh.
Muhammad Hassan said that.
I'm sorry?
It was Muhammad Hassan that
Yeah,
told Eddie.
I'm glad the supermarket came in because I didn't know all the, sometimes I forget stuff. So I'm glad he tied the loose ends up for me.
Man. Well, before we go forward, Daryl, I think it's time for your segment, man. Go ahead and you know what to ask for, man.
Yeah, I definitely want to get Hernandez. Well, some of again, we're talking about all the people you got an opportunity to work with. You're a great worker. You got to work with great workers. And again, like you talked about, TNA is up and down, but during those up and downs, all kinds of folks have showed up that you may have crossed paths with, and especially when you talk about Mexico and Japan. Here's a scenario: you're in the locker room, and it's probably early in your career. You're lacing your boots up. Guy sits next to you lacing his boots up. What's your mark out moment? What's the guy that maybe that you got to walk in the locker room with and say, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here with this guy. Maybe they mark out in person, but in your mind, you're like, I cannot believe that I'm here with this guy right now.
Yeah, real quick, guys. I told you I was making $50 in shows and unloading trucks. So I'm probably clearing what, $400 or $500 a week. These people pay me 90 grand. I'm not doing nothing to get me fired. So, so there was no markout moments. I would get dressed, do whatever I had to do, and go find an empty place and go find it as far as I can away from those people. So there was no excuse, hey, fire this guy. Nope, you paid me 90 grand, I'm going to just do my job. But the problem, on the hindsight, those a lot of guys were super cool. I mean, can you imagine, here we are up and coming guys trying to get in the tag business, so wrestling AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, America's Most Wanted, and guys like that. And we're on the same show as the Steiner brothers. We beat America's Most Wanted in our feud, and our reward was we're wrestling 3D, the Dudley Boys. So there was no really markout moment because you get hit by those guys. I'm saying the first 35, 40 seconds of a match, when you get hit by Bubba, there's no markout moment. There's this, let me reconvene and let me remember the rest of this match so we don't look bad, because they'll give you a chance, because they still are on top of their game. All those guys are, they're still on top of their game. So, and they're fighting for their spots and fighting just like everybody else. So they're not giving you no chance. Hey, don't worry about it, kid. No, they're gonna knock your ass off. That's what they're gonna do.
For sure. Now, one thing I want to touch on, man, is 2020. Like I said, you work with students. I know you. Do you still have your wrestling promotion?
I help run. It's called Also Wrestling Revolution here in Lockhart, Texas, and this is our second year, and it's slowly but surely getting better. The school's doing good, but it's just like anything else, an uphill battle because you got guys who are experienced wrestling, guys who maybe are not experienced.
Right.
And there's some guys who are really good and say training, but once you put them in the ring and there's fans watching and interacting, then maybe they're not as good as they were in training.
Right.
So it could be a process.
I'm glad you said that because that's where my next question is going, man. We get a lot of guys, a lot of legends like yourself on the show. And it's 2020. What do you tell some of the new guys? Yes, we got guys that can put on some great matches.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of things that people say they can adjust as well. What do you think about the current state of pro wrestling in general?
It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work. I mean, I think obviously this, you can call this old man or old vet or what you want. The social media has really hurt the wrestling business because every person has their small little indie group or their Facebook group or their Twitter group. Hey, we're looking for the next best thing, the next big thing, the next big thing. Guys, let me explain something to you. With Raw, SmackDown, AEW, MLW, Impact, and Ring of Honor, all the future is already signed. So everyone's worried about the future. Oh, this guy's going to be the future. This guy's going to be the future. No one's worried about the present. And that's why you see a lot of these guys, oh, yeah, well, he's going to be a big star in 2 or 3 years. Oh, yeah. So you're just going to let him struggle on TV for 2 or 3 years instead of push someone who's in the present? To me, it doesn't make sense. I understand I'm not the management of whatever company it is, but we have very, very present stars being pushed these days.
I agree.
And if you don't think so, look in the promos, look in the crowd reactions, because there's two different crowd reactions. One, when everyone just applauds for the move because hey, it was an awesome acrobatic move, or when you have like early 2000s, we have Rock versus Hogan, and everyone's on bated breath, just waiting for the lockup, waiting for the shoulder tackle, not waiting for the 630 or the moonsault to the crowd or jump off the balcony, whatever they do now. There's no the guys in the future have yet to invest in what the present has, and even the past.
I agree, man. And that's the only thing about it, man. Like you said, everybody has a Facebook group, and I would have never thought we would have had a day when the actual stars, and I've heard them say this, go onto these Facebook groups and care what the marks, and I don't like the term mark, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Care what they said as opposed to the paying fans. But it's the world we live in.
I'm not to be rude, and I appreciate anyone who tries to add me on these wrestling Facebook groups. I respectfully decline. You know what I'm saying? I try to be nice. They get mad. They keep trying to invite me. I go, dude, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I lived it. I lived that wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to relive it with you guys too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm sure my wife gets tired of me talking about wrestling. She give me a dirty look. You have family responsibilities and different things. Last thing she wants me is some Facebook, chat group talking about, hey, remember the time you jumped out that cage in 2006? I mean, she's just shaking her head. I mean, come on. I mean, how many times can you tell a story where people, you can't look that up real quick?
Now, one question now. When we talk about the modern wrestling, and you kind of alluded to it with the moonsaults and stuff like that. Like in WCW, we saw some of the same moves we see now, except the matches were longer, or there's more psychology, or maybe there's a manager. I mean, what do you think are the biggest problems? Like, what's going on today? Is it the short matches? Is it people not selling? Like, what could we do to fix what's going on right now?
I'd rather not say. I think it's beyond fixing because it's obviously pro wrestling always evolves. Before it was just straight mat wrestling and chain wrestling, and, you know what I'm saying, and shoot holes and stuff like that. Then you start using the ropes a little bit and stuff like that. And then I gradually came to where we're at now. I honestly think that wrestling's moving to another evolution. So the storytelling and the feeding out the crowd, especially during the COVID era right now, is horrible because there's no fans. But I mean, I just think the storytelling and feeding out the crowd is an extreme lost art. You look at WWE. What star had they made after John Cena? And you can say whatever name you want, it's not right because before John Cena there was Stone Cold and Rock and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. You knew those names. You didn't have to work. You didn't know if they wrestled good. Even if the casual fan knows those names. Even someone who's never watched wrestling before knows who The Rock is. Even who don't know anything about Stone Cold Steve Austin, they know who Stone Cold is. I don't know who the champions are in WWE right now. I barely know the ones in Impact because I'm there all the time. But I mean, you don't know those names because they're not crossing over like they were back then.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, man. Well, Daryl, I know you got a couple more things for him. Go ahead, because I want to finish them off, but go ahead if you got a couple more questions for him, man.
No. I mean, I guess one thing is like as you whether it's tag team wrestling, single wrestling, did you have a preference? I mean, because you did so much with LAX, which was a great name too. I always thought LAX.
I know it was. LAX
that was
dope,
a great
man.
name. That was a great name. I don't know who. I guess two questions: who came up with that, and what do you prefer, singles or tag?
Well, LAX is the brainchild of Conan, Dutch Mantell, and Jeff Jarrett. All three of those guys combined and made I mean, obviously Conan is the brain behind, but the masterminds, it was those three. They're the one who cooked it up and made it what it is now. As far as singles and tags, let's be honest, it depends who I'm tagging with. If I'm tagging with Homicide, Homicide 10 times out of 10. If it's anybody else, give me a chance for the singles. I'm good.
For sure, man, for sure. Now, before I ask this next question, understand, this is not the type of show where we try to get you to say bad things about people. It's not this type of show.
Okay.
I gotta ask you, because he's came up multiple times on our show. Working with Vince Russo.
Yeah.
How was it for you personally?
Well, it's real simple. If you don't like Vince Russo, you have to scale back and look at the big picture. If you were a mid-card guy and under, you know what I'm saying? Vince was very good in getting guys in vignettes and multi-man matches, so they got seen on television. Amazing. They weren't, like the scramble matches on TNA and those big gauntlet matches. That was Vince making sure everyone got on television. So you got to realize if you're not a title holder or you're not a major storyline, you're like this, twiddling your thumbs, hoping that you get a minute or two of TV time to get exposure with the fans, so they buy your T-shirts, they buy your pictures, they buy your merch, and realize, hey, you're somebody. And Vince Russo was very good at making sure everyone got on the show. Now, did he help? Was he able to elevate some of these guys to here? You already know the answer. You wouldn't ask me that question. I distinctly remember in 2009, I broke my neck, and I came back from neck surgery, and I was under the guidance of Jim Cornette. So if you watched my singles run in 2009, good, bad, or ugly, it was because of Jim Cornette. When Jim Cornette and Vince had that ultimatum, you either do it Vince's way or no way. Jim Cornette called me when I got off the airplane, and hey, I just quit.
Oh,
you're on your own, kid, and I'm pretty sure everything that built up is going to tear down, and you already know. I mean, you could say so, Daryl could say so, Supermarket could say so. Y'all saw 2009. My plane for singles was just like this.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I mean, you can just tell. I mean, my mom died in 1995, and even she knew I was going to get the belt. You know what I'm saying? It was that obvious. And then as soon as the clash of the titles between Cornette and Vince happened,
yeah.
And that's when I said, hey, maybe I should be the liaison for AAA and TNA, because Bischoff and Hogan came in, and I knew if I'm having issues getting a singles run with Russo by myself, with Bischoff ahead of him and Hogan ahead of him, bro, my chance was like this. So I said, let me go wrestle in Mexico for a little bit, and get the relations going. And that's what happened.
I get it, man, because you're absolutely right. I don't know how they didn't put you as the world champion, man. There was a moment, man. Listen, I should have wore it. I got an LAX shirt because I loved you guys so much, man. And the border toss was my move. I had forgot all about Mike Awesome, rest in peace, because of the border toss, dog. I'm honest, man. And I love Mike. I love Mike Awesome. I love him, but yeah. Oh, man. With that being said, we ain't going to keep you all night. Rico, do you want to hit him with something before we get our final segment, man?
I just want to say, please continue to make our people proud. You're already doing a good job of that. And I know Deshaun said, there was a time that you could have had the belt. I don't think anything about could have. I think in the present, I still think you got some years on you, and I'd like to see you on a bigger stage here soon.
Much appreciated. My wife's giving me a dirty look, so it's not many years. It's many years as she allows.
Continue making an impact. No pun intended.
Well, Shawn Hernandez, thank you very much. But before we close, there is
Before you take it to Shawn, well, I got one last, because you brought him up. You brought up Jim Cornette, so I got to ask, what's your favorite or funniest Jim Cornette experience or Jim Cornette story?
Oh man,
you brought up Jim. Come on, I can't leave without a Jim Cornette story. Come on.
I love Jim. He's the man. I mean, he doesn't care. It's, he's been around the business so long. I mean, he was in it since he's a teenager. So, I mean, he's seen everyone's come and go. And I remember one time, and it's not nothing but a funny story, but his number one pet peeve was that there's too much comedy on wrestling. He doesn't like too much comedy because, I mean, his number one phrase is funny don't make money. So I mean, Jim Cornette, I mean, I have nothing bad to say. He treated me like gold. He treated everyone he worked with like gold. It's just a shame that the way the parameters worked, him and Vince could work together. But I mean, just being around him and waiting for someone to do something, he's like that cranky uncle, that's just, he's like taking time off, just waiting for you to make a misstep so he can just get in your ass. I mean, he is, we just sit back and just wait for it. It was awesome, man.
Dope, man. But that also shows you the respect y'all have for him too, because even when he popped off, y'all understood it. You know what I'm saying? It was still for the betterment of the program as a whole,
Well, one thing about Jim is, yes, he will tell you what sucks. He'll tell you, hey, that's not making no money. But also explain to you why it does not make money. And a lot of people in charge don't do that. They'll just say, hey, do it my way, because that's what I said. Just like, when you were a kid, your mom says, because I said. And that's happens a lot in the business. But I mean, Jim was one of those guys that he explained to you, hey, this makes money. This does not make money.
For sure. Well, Shawn, once again, I thank you for being on the show, but now it's time for our very final segment. It's called Ring the Bell. You have 60 seconds. You can say anything. You can tell them to watch you on Impact. You can inspire people. You can talk about your day, your favorite drink, whatever you want to do. Shawn Hernandez, you got 60 seconds. Go ahead and ring the bell.
Guys, man, you guys are awesome. I'm just happy you guys, we had a nice conversation and stuff. If you're ever in Texas, come to AWR Wrestling, also Wrestling Revolution. You never know what you're going to see. We run shows monthly. If you're a wine or if you're a sangria person, go to Palestine, Texas Wine. What's it, Mom? I keep messing up. Texas Vineyard Smokehouse. That's my dad's spot. He'll take care of you. Whenever you like the sweet wine, like the dry wine, he makes the best sangria this side of Puerto Rico. I promise you guys. And man, thanks for having me. That's all I gotta say.
So we're gonna make that trip. One more time, could you shout out your social media and everything so people know how to follow you and follow Impact Wrestling and everything?
Yeah, that's on Twitter, it's SuperMex CTM, SuperMex CTM. Facebook, it's I guess Shawn Hernandez. So we're good, man.
For sure. Well, Shawn, thank you for being on the show, man. It's been a pleasure. And we will talk to you soon, my guy. Thank you very much for everything you've done for the wrestling world.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
For sure. Take care, man. Devastating Daryl Pace. Another dope show, man.
Man, another great show, man. We were keeping it rolling. We know we took a little bit of break, but I think the break was worth it to come back with Shawn Hernandez, man. So we hitting it, man. It's like hitting it hard and fast, man.
You guys think he'll sign my man?
We even brought a special guest on. We even brought Rico on, man. Rico, what's been going on, man? How did you feel about being on the show today with your hero, bro?
You guys think he'll sign my mask if I send it to him?
You got to go buy some wine from his pops first.
I'm gonna
do that, dog.
Listen. I think it's amazing. I never even knew he had ties to my old town. That's the town I went to when we were back in Dallas.
Word.
I'm from the same town where his dad lives. I had no idea. It's crazy.
See, the world is so small, baby. You gotta
I
grab.
appreciate it.
You never know. Could be a cousin, man. It could be, who knows?
Matter of fact, Rigo, while we got you on, go ahead and shout out your social media and tell them what you do and where we can get a hold of you.
So yeah, you guys can find me Rigo Flores on Facebook, LinkedIn, the Rigo Flores, if you're looking to get into business or something. And then yeah, you can find me around Lansing, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, a little bit of everywhere. Yeah, don't. Hey, listen, I'm not I'm very approachable, so go ahead and just shoot me a message. I'll answer any questions to my fans out there. No, I'm just messing with you.
Bro, chill. And he's down to clown, y'all. And one more thing about Rigo, if y'all don't know, we've been doing the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast for 2 seasons. This belt that I have for the whole 2 seasons actually is his Legacy World Championship that I won't give back to him. It's his. I'll be honest with you. I'm breaking kayfabe right now. But anyway, Rigo, thank you for being on the show tonight, and we will chop it up with you later as well, bro.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Good luck for the rest of the season, and look forward to the shows coming up.
For sure. Well, fans, y'all heard it. We had a great show. You know what to do. Follow us, The Whip Show Podcast, on Instagram, Facebook. Like us, The Whip Show Podcast, Twitter, The Whip Show. You know what we do. Just check us out, man. We're on everything. We're on everything. All right, man. We're going to get out of here. You know what it is. I am Deshaun Whip Dog Whipple.
Devastating Daryl Pace.
And we will see you next time on the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, a.k.a. The Whip Show. Take care, guys.